To become a Daytona 200 champion, you must run flat out for 200 miles.
Man, this is tight. He is coming with a head of steam like nobody else, man.
Time your pit stop to perfection.
This is a critical pit stop. Hits his marks absolutely perfect. Watch the rear tire being changed. He's back on the bike. Bike's fired up, and he's on his way.
And take huge chances.
The young man, he's coming down the inside. This is going to get hairy down here. Wow. This is it. Leaving nothing on the table right now. Everybody's throwing everything they got at this thing.
Predict the unpredictable. What was once an endurance race is now a high-speed brawl.
This is an outright sprint race. It's 200 miles, but it's flat out all the way.
The field is set for the toughest race of the season. This is the Daytona 200, and it's on speed right now.
That is amazing. That's the best race I think I've ever seen down here.
Any race at Daytona is significant, but in the world of motorcycle racing, none is bigger than the Daytona 200. Welcome to one of the world's great motorcycle endurance classics, the 72nd running of the Daytona 200. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer, and I'm delighted to be joined by five-time winner of this race, Scott Russell. And Scott, clearly you have an understanding of the significance of this. It's not just though significant for the rider himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the biggest race we have in our series right here, and it used to be more of an international flavored race. We used to get a lot more riders coming over here vying for this thing, but as an American rider, it doesn't really matter who you are. You want to win one, you want to win Daytona. It's important for the manufacturers, it's important for other teams, everybody to take momentum into the next round, and the manufacturers, they get a lot of press off just this one win, so it's a real big deal.
And of course, it's a very unique event unto itself in terms of the overall schedule. Let's show you what the format is going to be. We're going to be enjoying today. First of all, 57 laps. That's 200 miles. The pit window, 17 to 21 laps. 2 pit stops anticipated. You have to change the rear tire. The most you can run on that rear tire is 40 laps. So at some point, you're going to have to make the change. DeSalvo running the full second half of the race last year, or a couple years ago, on that one tire. You can do it. But of course, it is going to be fairly intricate to make that unfold. Now, let's take a look at how intense this can be on the high banks of Daytona. We go back to the race last year, and it was nothing short of spectacular.
Well, it is, and when you get these many guys on a 600 that can run this pace, it makes for exciting finishes right here, and you can just see them fighting to get in a position where they can draft by someone at the line right now. The number 9 made a big charge to get back to this front, but that Joey Pasquarella down on the inside on the silver Yamaha was able to hold them off as they made that run to the finish line, and I expect we're going to see a lot of that today.
Now that's what happens up on the track, and the racing is ferocious to be sure, but oftentimes this race can be decided in the pit stops. This is the only race in the season that will actually run pit stops in this one, and if you get it right, it's huge. If you get it wrong, it can be catastrophic. And what we want to do, Scott, is we want to show you guys out there what can happen when you get it wrong. You need to execute, and things can happen.
Well, you can see here that Westby making his pit stop last year, and if everything doesn't go right, as you can see the front wheel getting hung up just for that split second, this is going to cost Dane a lot of time, and that's the difference between this race. We have 2 pit stops, so unlike any of the other races that we do, and the crew's got to be on their game, and they had an issue here with the front brake pads. Once they finally found that front wheel to get back in, Westby made a big run to catch back up to the field, but pretty much his race was over right there in the pits.
Yep, now Martin Cardenas last year's champion in the series, this is a good stop.
Well, it's got to be clean. These teams, they're not used to really doing pit stops. Like I said, this is the only race out of the series we do this. They do practice all leading up into this race, but I mean, sometimes it can go wrong. Sometimes it goes perfect just like this, and that's what you want. It's so important that the crew's able to do their job as well as the rider in this race.
For the rider standing there, it seems an eternity, but if you get it right, it should be right around, what, about 15 seconds?
That's right, or less.
All right, now we've talked about the track. This is a unique beast among the championship as well. A lot of things are done individually for this venue. Let's take a look at this track. We've got an onboard lap, and Scott Russell, you've done this many times.
Oh, I have. We're going from 6th gear across the tri-oval start-finish line right here, and this is a big area right here. You're going to see a lot of action, a good place to pass. And you got to get off this bike off the edge of the tire. And it's so hard because it's such a long duration corner. And then you want to straighten the bike up through this, what they call turn 2. It's an essence. And you just got to go from curb to curb. And then you come to this east horseshoe, which has changed over the years. The radius now is a lot tighter. It's more pointed at an apex. So it makes it difficult. The riders have to go across the seam going in and across the seam coming out. Then they're going to make their way back over to the right side of the track from one of the fastest sweeping corners on the racetrack. That kink in the infield really can separate a lot of riders. And if you do it right, you end up down low here. You want to kind of run the bike in and make a triangulate this corner somewhat. You can see him drift out, and he'll double apex that, get the bike off the edge of the tire again, because the Dunlop tires here don't have as much grip as a standard racetrack would offer. So here we go, turn 6. To me, this is the second most important corner on the racetrack. Getting the good drive up toward the wall, letting the bike drift right up to the Daytona sign right there, grabbing gears as you're running around high on this Daytona banking. About 3/4 of the way around, you're gonna dive down, as you see right here, and get some sort of a slingshot effect. Then the track will start to flatten out again. You make your way up to that wall as you prepare to brake for this chicane or a bus stop down off the back straightaway. A lot of action's gonna be in here. This has been a real touchy spot all weekend. We'll touch on that in a minute. Drive out of here. This is the #1 corner on the racetrack to me. Good drive out of there. Give yourself a great shot to get a good run, and it means terminal speed on the other end. If you don't get out of that chicane well, then you've really shot yourself in the foot and taken away maybe any chance you had of winning the race. If you lead out of the chicane, you can also be sucked up by the other guys and the guys drafting behind you. You run down into this tri-oval. If you did it right, you'll be the first guy to cross that line right there and make your way to victory circle.
Terminal speed somewhere a little north of 175 miles an hour, so it could be quick. You talked about the chicane. You said it was a problematic area, and it was, particularly early in the weekend. A new tire compound being run here, and cool temperatures created some serious issues.
It has, Greg. You touched on that exactly. I mean, I've never in my life seen as many accidents as we've had this weekend in that area of track. You know, over the off season, you got birds bedding down out there on the track, sand blowing around. Lots of guys going off, lots of money spending that chicane this weekend, and now the temperatures today are up. Hopefully we won't see this kind of carnage throughout the 200 that we've seen leading up to it.
Yeah, as you said, it was costly. The track crews out trying to suss up. Some of the guys going down, taking little divots out of the pavement. So the track crews have been busy working on that. But as you pointed out today, much better weather. Everything should be good. This was a biggie here as well.
Well, that corner, let's remind ourselves, that doesn't get used very often.
Yeah.
It gets used in the 24-hour, the Rolex car race, and now we use it again. Other than that, that turn's not ever used on this racetrack, so it's always a bit dodgy.
As you can see, things are starting to get busy as we're getting close. The bikes are out on their installation lap. They'll come around, take their spot on the grid. When we come back, we'll learn about some of the new riders and some of the returning champions. Stay with us. After winning 7 races last year, Cameron Beaubier is definitely one to keep an eye on for the 200. Beaubier put in an impressive performance in the second half of the 2012 season and was in title contention until this incident in the second race of the New Jersey round. Yet that crash didn't slow the youngster down as Cameron continued to challenge for race wins through the end of last season. This will be Beaubier's 3rd Daytona 200.
Well, Cameron Beaubier is on pole, his 3rd Daytona 200, and he gets a Rolex watch. So Cam, congratulations on pole and congratulations on that new shiny Rolex, but let's talk about the race. You have been extremely fast all weekend long, 1.4 seconds quicker than at times. What's the plan, Cam? Are you going to race with these guys? Or are you going to try to put your head down and check out?
Yeah, I'm sure it's just going to be classic Daytona at the beginning, just a big group going around till the first pit stop. But I know my guys have been working really hard on the pit stops, and we can get through them really fast. So maybe after that, I can try to just put my head down and see what happens.
All right, we're looking to see how great Cameron's going to be able to get his R6 around.
I'm standing on the grid with second.
After bursting onto the scene in the final AMA Pro Supersport race of 2011, Garrett Gerloff was a big favorite for the 2012 Daytona SportBike title. That changed with his crash in the first practice for last year's Daytona 200, suffering a broken leg. Gerloff returns with the Yes Graves Yamaha team for his 2nd attempt at the 200.
Last year, Garrett Gerloff was set to make his Daytona 200 debut, and as we've just heard, he had a big accident. Garrett, this year, you're kind of the quiet one here. Your teammates taking a lot of the spotlight, but I have a feeling you might have something for these guys during the race. How do you feel going into your first Daytona 200?
Yeah, I feel really good, actually, pretty calm. And I know I have something for Cameron because I've been faster around here before. So if I can just stay with the lead group, get a good pit stop, and get away with Cameron or whoever, I think it's going to go really good. So
we'll throw it back to Greg, Bobby Fong.
Third place on the grid, Bobby Fong. Well, Bobby, new team for you, and everything seems to be clicking. Tell me, what are you thinking for the race?
Yeah, my Motorsports Yamaha R6 is working great all weekend, and I'm just going to go out there and conserve my energy and stay with the front group and let everything get situated at the end. But I believe my Motorsports Yamaha has the power to get it done this evening.
Bobby Fong trying to be relaxed. Now, outside of row number 1 is the old number 98, Jake Zemke, back on a Ducati. Jake, having won the Daytona 200, set on pole before. Jake, you guys had a great qualifying effort for a fill-in ride. What do you think your chances are today?
Yeah, we're looking strong. Unfortunately, Garrett Willis got hurt 2 weeks ago, and I'm here today. But the crew's put together a great motorcycle, and we're able to put it up on the front row. And actually, this morning found a little issue that probably hampered us in qualifying. So I'm confident we'll be there in the race. As with the 200, it's probably going to come down to the pit stop. So the guys have been working hard, and I think we should be good.
All right, we're looking forward to that. Now let's go over to Jason, who has more on the number 5 bike.
Supposed to be Dane Westby on this number 5 bike, but they've brought in versatile Steve Rapp. Steve, you've ridden so many bikes over the years, and one day Dane got hurt, your phone rang, and you were down here waiting for something that could possibly happen after obviously riding a different class going into the weekend. How's the Honda feel so far?
Yeah, it's been great. Really happy to step in for Dana. I know he's okay. He's upset he can't ride, but looking forward to do the best. The bike's great. I like the Honda, and really want to thank John Ulrich and Chris and Geico and all those guys for putting me in here.
Back to Greg and Scott.
All right, thanks very much, Jason. And yeah, it's a tough development for what happened to put Rapp on the bike.
Yeah, Dane Westby, he was going really good right out of the gate. The first time on the Honda here, he was very excited about 200 and had an off, and ended up damaging himself inside. They won't clear him to run, and hopefully Jason will be able to catch up with him down on pit road later, and we'll hear it straight from firsthand from him himself.
Absolutely, and what good fortune for the team to have a rider of Steve Rapp's credentials to be able to step in and carry it hopefully to the front. We've got a lot more to bring you, a lot more on some of these riders when we come back to Daytona.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida. We are set to run the Daytona 200, and we're standing with last year's champion, Joey Pasquarella. Joey, a lot of new stuff for you this year, and you qualified on the second row. How's it going this weekend?
Started off a little rough, but now it's getting a little better. Started 7th, so that's not too bad. We're a lot of things are new, like you said, so we're just gonna give it. I'm gonna give it my all, and try to put my rider's discount Triumph, as high up as I can, and I can only do my best, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Elena made history at Sonoma in 2010 as the first female to win an AMA Pro Road race. Then last season, here in Daytona, she made history once again, winning race 1 in Supersport. Elena now moves into the Daytona SportBike Championship, and after parting with Suzuki, she will pilot a Triumph in her first Daytona 200.
We're sitting down here with Elena. Elena, 15th on the grid, a lot of firsts for you this year. Coming here on a new team, new bike, and getting to race the Daytona 200 for the first time. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. The crew's put a great bike underneath me. I can't say enough about the Triumph 675R. And yeah, like you said, it's my first time at the 200, so just gonna try to be consistent and run some decently fast laps, and hopefully we'll put this bike in a good position at the end of the race.
Back over to you, G-Dub.
In 2010, benefiting from an extended red flag, Jason DeSalvo and the latest team completed an entire engine swap, resulting in Jason and Ducati's first ever Daytona 200 win. Last season, DeSalvo experienced an early issue aboard his Triumph, which put him out of pit stop sequence. But putting in an amazing ride, Jason charged to the front, narrowly missing the win and finishing second by only 4/100ths of a second.
For Jason DeSalvo, not his best qualifying effort on row number 4. The team citing bad fuel map. They didn't load it in properly. They have that all sorted out, so expect to see Jason back at the front of this race as usual.
All right, thanks very much, and we're going to step away for just a minute. We will be right back to Daytona to get the legendary 70-second running of the Daytona 200 underway. Stay with us. Coming up right now on Speed is going to be the Daytona 200, and we have some former winners in the field. We'll take a look at that, and a couple of guys recently. Of course, John Ashmead getting it done a number of years ago, but I believe you were on the track then, Scott.
Yeah, I should have won that race, I feel. But anyway, long story short, John Ashmead got his only one and only Daytona 200 winner. And if you win it once, hey, you've won it, and that's a real big deal. It's to all of these guys and girls out here.
Absolutely.
Huge.
That is big. And of course, Joey Pasquarello, the most recent winner, doing it last year. But look at those names, and a lot of them are up near the sharp end of this grid. This should be spectacular. Field starting to fill up as we're getting ready to go. Let's check in with Greg White.
Bobby Fong's Motorsport.com team is telling me that with their dump can of fuel into the motorcycle, that they have the possibility of doing a pit stop in 8 seconds. Those precious seconds that they gain in the pits could pay dividends by the end of this race.
Sitting down here, I'm sitting here thinking about some new kids on the block here. Jake Lewis and James Rispoli. 2-time Super Sport champion Rispoli. This is his first Daytona 200. He's been talking about it all year long. The team is not used to doing pit stops. He's got a plan. Let's see if he can put it in place and run up front with these guys.
And it's about time to find out. Cameron Beaubier has had the pace on everybody easily in the practice and qualifying sessions, but this race is a different animal. We're about ready to find out. The early going, we are underway. Looked like Garrett maybe moved a little early, but he didn't really get much of a jump, and a nice move there. Is that the 98?
Zemke on the outside of Bobby Fong. They both got a good jump. And that's what Zemke, somebody needs to get out in front of Cameron Beaubier and slow his pace down. That's exactly what they need to do here. Nobody's been able to match his pace all weekend, so this is going to be a different face for him, something to have to deal with.
And few are more experienced than Zemke in this field, so he's got a great opportunity to lead from the front. Can you dictate the pace a little bit, or when you get up in the banking, is it just whatever they want to do behind you?
Well, you can and you can't. It just depends. Once you hit that banking the first time, and if you're still in the lead when you get to the infield the next lap, then yeah, you're kind of the guy controlling the pace. But in a class like this, with so many riders that can run at the top limit and the level of the tires and the bike, then it could change things. It's hard to break away from a pack like this.
Now, this first lap is so crucial. There's that new tire where the hard edge overlaps a little bit on the tire that isn't used very much on the side. So these guys have to be very careful when they lean into that chicane at speed.
Yeah, with only 3 right-hand corners, you got to be careful right there. And here you see the 2 Geico guys going at it already. Benny Solis takes the move on Steve Rapp, who's just been called in to fill in for the Wolverine. Dane Westby doing a great job out there. Rapp rides anything, and he rides it good.
Down into that chicane for the first time, and everybody, at least thus far, being very, very circumspect as they run through there, get a feel for the bike, make sure they get a lap or 2 in, get these tires warmed up. 57 laps you've got to survive, not 10, 15, 20. This is, even though it's wide open, it's still an endurance race.
It really is. It's a full-on 57-lap sprint race right here, and here we come down to the tri-oval for the first time right now. Zemke's going to get overtaken right now on the outside by the number 6 right there, Cameron Beaubier. Bobby Fong's right there too on the outside. He's going to swoop around Zemke on the outside and try to make that stick. Garrett Gerloff in the number 8 right there in the 4th spot, and right there you see Huntley Nash running a little bit wide right there. Good recovery by him and able to fight again. He didn't lose too much time.
Into that international horseshoe. And I'm liking what I'm seeing, just in the sense that everybody is really making sure they've got heat in every component they need here, particularly those tires, to be able to make this work. And you're dealing with some incredible loads. Uh-oh, problem early.
Looks like Pasquarello possibly.
Oh my. That is your defending winner, folks.
But on the right side of the screen here, this is what they did not want to happen. Cameron Beaubier, and you could see him pushing really hard to the infield right here. He's going to try to make the break. And he's got the pace faster than everybody else, so can they keep in touch with him?
Looks like a mechanical issue, Jason, for Joey.
Yeah, our defending Daytona 200 champion just pitted. Looked pretty dejected. Looks like it's something to do with the shift linkage. Definitely something to do with the shifting of the motorcycle. They're going to whip this safety wire off, try to get that back going again. They should be able to get back in the race. Yeah, I'm just having a look here again, guys. Definitely something snapped off at the bottom of that bike.
Boy, the problem is you just don't want to go down a lap. That's so tough to deal with here. Watching this field as they come through. Good scrap here. That pack of bikes up and out of the chicane into the NASCAR 3 and 4 leading into the tri-oval. Watching for the draft. About how far back are you going to start feeling that draft, Scott?
You can feel it from about 10 bikes back, and that was, we were just looking there at the 95 of J.D. Beach and his teammate Jake Gagne on the Red Race factory bikes, and they get swooped around on the outside right there. It looks like it's possibly James Rispoli.
Number 43, Rispoli, indeed. And just checking that draft out, seeing what he's got there. J.D. Beach. J.D., a busy guy, does a little bit of a flat tracking, too.
Yeah, he does it all. But what I like right here is the 43 right there of Rispoli, and also Jake Lewis on the 85. These are the two guys that are stepping up, Greg, to this class. This is the first time they've run the Daytona 200, so they're used to running those little short sprints in the super sport class. Now they got to figure out how to run hard for 57 laps. I guarantee you both of them are in great shape, and they'll be right up to the challenge right now. But the real challenge is for everybody to keep Cameron Beaubier within reach right now, and you can see Fong knows that, and he's going to fight hard to not let the 6 get away.
Well, there are a few guys out there that are more aggressive than Bobby Fong. I mean, Beaubier is just smooth, really defined, but Fong, he will hustle that bike.
Well, let me tell you, the guys working on his bike are the same guys that catapulted Pasquarello to a win last year, and they definitely got a fast motorcycle out there. So if the 50 can just stay in contention, which he's looking like he's doing pretty good, he's got a real shot to win this thing. And you see right there, Zemke on the Ducati, hanging in there with him, looking down on the inside. Not going to happen right there. He's just happy and content to sit there. He just wants to stay close.
And that's really the plan, isn't it? Stay in this lead group, stay in touch up to that first round of stops, because that could really tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, if you could stay in touch to the first stop, everybody gets through their clean. You might whittle away a couple of guys with a bad stop, and then the second stop is as much important as the first one. And then we'll see who's left to race it to the finish line. But right now, with the draft and the way it works at Daytona, Beaubier is not able to put down those laps that he wanted and get away right now. Right now, they're running in the 151 range, so we're 2 seconds off of what Beaubier qualified on the pole at.
That was interesting watching Zemke. He went down underneath Fong, but then he just came right back up behind him because he didn't want to have that double wall of air right there and drop back. I mean, he's playing the game masterfully right now.
Yeah, right now it's all about testing everybody you're racing with and just kind of seeing what kind of run do I have as we go to start-finish, you know, just noting that down. Well, this guy's going to be tough to pass. I might need to do something different. So Zemke, definitely the veteran in this class. He knows how to get it done, and he's going to learn and see what these two guys in front of him can do.
And Gerloff had dropped off by about a second. He has reeled them back in, bringing Rispoli and Gagne having a good run too, now up into 6th.
Well, hey, Gagne and that Red Race Factory team and his teammate J.D. Beach are right here, and they've got the Rispoli sandwich going on. They're both one in front of him, one behind him. So it's great to see this many riders still close, you know, as we whittle away, and the rest of the pack starting to fade away behind them right now. So the top 5, 6 guys right now are pretty close, and we'll see how long they can stay like that.
By the way, Jason DeSalvo, important for many reasons, one being that he's a former winner. He had qualified, as they talked about, back in the 4th row. He has just cracked the top 10. So Jason DeSalvo just marching as cleanly and as quickly as he can to get into this lead group.
Yeah, I don't know that they found the perfect setup with that Triumph as they have had in the past here last year. As we saw in the stuff leading into the race, how strong he was and how far he came from behind. I don't know that that's going to happen again this year. It looks like a little bit different face to the race.
And so Fong stays close. Might even have a little bit of a run here coming up on the right shoulder.
That would have won him the race right there.
Boy, he's banking that one into the old memory books, isn't he?
Definitely.
And then he just lets him go right back again, realizes now he's inside, things are early, and Zemke just watching it all unfold. Early moments here of the 72nd running of the Daytona 200. We'll be back to this legendary speedway in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. No change in that front order since we left you. It is still Beaubier, over Fong, then Zemke, and then Gerloff. And if you're looking on scoring online somewhere, it shows Fong leading. He did at the stripe, but then Beaubier got right back by him down into turn 1. Good little scrap unfolding right there. Watching Benny Solis, everybody was thinking was going to be a serious contender this year.
And that's Huntley Nash leading that pack, Solis, and that's DeSalvo right there behind him. So they got their own little battle going. Then up front, just a little bit in front of them, you can see Jake Lewis has kind of got dropped off that lead pack right now.
Speaking of the lead pack, we've got a break. The top 4 have opened that margin up just a little bit again. And behind Gerloff, there you see the number 95 of JD Beach has got around Rispoli, but their little bit of cut and thrust battling is what's probably caused that little bit of a break.
Could be, but they're doing good. They're not that far back from this lead group, so if they can still try not to battle too hard when they get to the corners, if they keep drafting by each other, they may be able to pull back up on this group. And there's Gagne making a move on his teammate down the inside. And this 4-bike got wide right there. That's going to help those 3 behind and possibly close that gap.
And it was Fong that led at the line, but now Zemke slots down and picks up the point. Fong into second, just that quick. Beaubier back to third, and his teammate now right behind him is Gerloff. Then that little bit of a break, you see Rispoli got back around Beach. And that's really key for those guys. If a guy gets a run, let him go, tuck in. Don't sit there and battle with him. Run these guys down.
That's right. They start battling when they get to the braking zone. That's what tends to slow people down. And you can see Rispoli's leading that Road Race Factory team toward that front group. He's doing a great job in his first Daytona 200 right now. The kid trains like no other, and you know he's in great shape, so 57 laps for him will be no problem.
Now, these guys, when they come down that front straight on the tri-oval, pit lane is way off to the inside on their left. Where are they getting their signboards?
Well, they're getting their signboards in that infield straightaway, Greg, is where they would typically set them up, and it gives those riders time to come out of that international horseshoe, grab a couple of gears, take a look over to the left before they get down to that fast kink in the infield. And they'll monitor that throughout the race.
Good news, although way back, the 52 of Joey Pasquarella is back on course. So whatever the problem was, hopefully they got it resolved. Of course, he's going to be a few laps down.
And obviously not the run he had last year. And this kind of thing, these guys fanning out. Look at the 3 behind him. They caught him. So it's about to be a 7-bike freight train here for the lead. And that's what we want to see here at Daytona. This class always puts out good racing. And really, I think right now, Beaubier's decided, look, I can't run those lap times I did in qualifying, or he's not trying that hard yet. So he's probably content just to run with the pack. And we'll see after that first stop if he makes a move.
Look at that run Gerloff got. When those guys got side by side, Gerloff, it was like he just found an 8th gear and launched, got down to the inside. But look at that. Exactly what you're talking about. Those guys are 4 abreast. It is now a 7-bike train. And what's been impressive for me, watching Beach and Rispoli especially, they've been passing and repassing every lap, but not fighting, and that's the result.
Man, I tell you, JD Beach almost fell off the thing in turn 1 right there. He had a little bit of a moment. Foot off the foot peg, but he regained it, and he's at the tail end of that group. DeSalvo's on pit road. He's got a problem.
Boy, he had a strong run moving up going, and now that is going to go away, and this is way early. You know, when he had his problem a couple of years ago, you know, he was in that window when he made it with one more stop with that red flag help, obviously. Not happening here.
No, they shut the motor off.
Let's get down to Jason Pridmore.
We're
What's
sitting
up?
here, guys, and it looks terminal. They've just, Jason DeSalvo came down pit lane, said the bike was not running. Also, it looks like one of his teammates has come in. I'm just following this story right now. DeSalvo's having another look at something. Gary Medley, crew chief of this team, is having a look over something. But when Jason came down pit lane, his bike was absolutely dead. It looks like they're trying to start it up right now, but it looks like it could be terminal. Although now it has fired up. We've seen this before with Jason, where he's had some feelings that something was going wrong. And but the bike has started back up. Maybe we're in for a preview of what we saw last year, guys.
Would be an amazing story if that's the case, but these guys up front are setting an awfully impressive pace right now, and DeSalvo has got to get back on that bike and get moving to try and salvage anything here at this point. Boy, really working at it down inside there. Well, let's see. Looks like he's gonna get back on as we watch this group unfolding here. Great stuff. Zemke back into the lead. Fong second, Beaubier third, Gerloff, and Rispoli actually had Gerloff at the line, so this is well and truly now a pack at the front.
Definitely. You see JD Beach fell off the back of that pack a little bit as they came across start finish, but this will allow him going through the infield to catch back up. Salvo remounted on that Triumph. Number 40 going to go back out and try it again, but now he's a lap down. His race is pretty much over.
Yeah, it's miracle time for Jason if he's going to get anything. Tell you that the guy working on that bike with bare hands down in there in that engine compartment, that's some tough hands.
It looked like he was fiddling around over there by the shifter or something. I don't know what was going on, but nevertheless, they got the thing rolling again, and he could get back out there. Maybe he can salvage some points, and that's kind of what you got to do at this point. But I'm impressed with Jake Zemke and this Duckshot Ducati. These guys are really going well on this thing.
And as we're watching that man, Zemke, lead away, let's get back down to Jason Pridmore. Other problems in the Triumph camp.
I'm sitting down here with Kenny Reedman. Kenny, I looked down pit lane, saw both you and Jason coming down the pits. What's going on?
Unfortunately, off the start, I burnt out my clutch a little bit. As I was on the track, I was trying to dial it out, get some more slack in that clutch, and it just didn't seem to help out. Only made it around, I think, 2 or 3 laps, and it just kept getting worse and worse to the point where I couldn't even circulate the track and had to pull in.
Sometimes we run these big, tall gears here, and we don't even think about the start, do we, Scott? And then all of a sudden now we can't get the bike off the line. We use a little bit more clutch than we need to, and it heats the thing up. And I've seen so many races finish here in pit lane because of clutches.
It happens. We have seen a lot of that. And you just, that was close for Spoli with his leg off. I mean, when the move was made in front of him, he had to check up right there at top speed. Here they come across the stripe again. 7 riders tied together right now. This is a great race.
Indeed, Beaubier, Fong, and even with that moment, Rispoli was able to sneak by the line in the 3rd spot, but he's already been demoted to 4th by an impressive Jake Zemke.
Did you see the number 3?
Benny Solis making his way down into pit lane as well. So again, early issues here. This is lap 8. Let's get down to Greg White.
Well, Benny Solis came in pointing to the left side of his motorcycle, talking to his crew right now. Not really sure. Nobody's really reacting on it. Looks like there's some type of an issue perhaps with the throttle. Riders, when they discuss things, they always use a lot of body language, so it looks like Benny is pretty dejected at this point. Once I get in there and talk to the crew, we'll give you an update.
Well, the body language I saw when he unzipped his leathers kind of said it all right there, and it doesn't look like his day's gonna finish out well. Obviously it's not.
The language of racing, all of that hand movements, and here's what it's doing and the like. Beaubier continues to lead, opening up a little bit of a margin over Fong, who's got Zemke, Linus Stern, and Presson. We've got more coming at you from the Daytona 200. Stay with us. Tomorrow, tune into The Hub as we sift through the drama and the excitement from Bristol. Plus, get a perspective from behind the wheel as Greg Biffle stops by for a chat. Don't miss NASCAR Race Hub tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed. And we've got a little bit of a development here. It didn't take him long. We're going to break. This was a pack, and suddenly Mr. Beaubier has opened up darn near a second margin on the group behind, Scott.
Yeah, obviously he was holding back, kind of letting the full fuel load burn off a little bit, let everybody see, check everybody a little bit, and now he's pulled the pin right now. Fastest lap by last time, a 150.6. The next closest lap was a 150.6 by Gerloff. A lot of stuff going on track and in the pits.
Yeah, Jason DeSalvo's in again, Jason.
I am here, guys, and it is smoking, so that there's definitely something terminal inside that motor. It's kind of weird, you know. Jason always seems like he either has great luck down here or bad luck down here, and we know he can run the laps, but just unfortunate to see that Triumph go up today.
Yeah, it sure is. Obviously, a bit of a new program, and they had that back in qualifying just a little bit, but the man is such an amazing racer. And to see it go away this early, that is indeed too bad. Zemke leading Gerloff in this pack, and Fong has slipped back just a little bit. And that's 2 bikes in, what, 100th of a second in this group.
It looks like Gerloff's getting a little bit antsy right now. You can see his teammates starting to get away up there, and everybody's tried to have their shot through the infield to see if they can kind of run him back down. And this is where he's so fast. Through the infield, I was watching the section times, and T2 is where he was killing him leading up to the race so far, and now he's kind of pulled the pin again, and he's out front, and he's really running down in the 150 range right now, which a lot of the riders have dipped in the 150 range as well, but now there's a 2-second gap almost, so they got to make that up.
Yeah, that's significant. Now, the one, obviously you've got pit stops. There's a lot of racing yet to go. But one of the benefits, if you can break it and open it up and get clear by 3-4 seconds, if you've got to stumble in that pit stop of a second or two, you come back out, you're still right there. I mean, this can be a huge development.
It could be, yeah. You want to try to give yourself any kind of cushion that you can in this race. It's so hard in this class to break away, and we haven't seen it in some time. So this could be a first right here for this class, someone just busting away and not being able to run him down. But everybody's got their time in the second spot trying to do it. But right now, Beaubier is just a little bit stronger.
Well, these guys seem to have tamed it down a little bit in terms of popping out, running 3-4 abreast, and I think they've got the understanding right now. We've got to do what Rispoli and Gagne and Beach and those guys did. They need to make it work. Check in with Greg White.
It looks like Benito Solis is going to get on that number 3 motorcycle and get back out on the Honda. Now keep in mind, this is the Daytona 200, and even though he's a few laps down, the crew got that bike working. This is still points for a championship. So Solis back out and after it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also practice on that bike. You can see him coming out. He's going to come right out with the leaders right here. And we'll see if he can kind of fall in and sort of run their pace now that he's got back on track. I don't think that'll happen. But at least he'll get a look at the top guys up front and see if he had something for him, maybe if he didn't have an issue.
So it's a good, now it's a good extended test session where you could still earn some points toward a championship. You're making lemonade from lemons is what you're doing.
Exactly. You're just trying to get used to the bike, your new bike, your new team at this point for him. So his day's pretty much over as far as any good results are going to be.
Fong and Gagne having a nice little dust up there in that 4th spot. Up in front of them, the 8 of Gerloff and Zemke. And Rispoli, it looks like he's been able to run with these guys. Once they ran him down, he was easily able to stay with them. And it looks like he's just kind of sitting back a little bit, just watching what's unfolding in front.
I think he's still riding hard. I don't know that anybody's been able to sit back because the pace has definitely picked up. I mean, most of these riders, if you look back, they were only running 52s. Now they're running 51s and 50s. So these guys are in a different area that they hadn't really been used to. So they're having to get used to that pace. And some of these riders are more comfortable with it right now, and some of them are having to work into that comfort level.
And Rispoli, of course, moving up from the super sport category. So, talk about going to school right now.
Oh, definitely. But, he's got some good training. Jason's been working with him a lot, and he's, like I said, he's fit as he can be. So he's got all the tools in his toolbox. He's got a great team with him right now. But, this is uncharted territory for him.
Fitness, the endurance race, obviously, as we've gone through the weekend, we talked about it started off on Thursday cold and windy, sunny but cold and windy. It's gotten warmer each day. This is by far and away the warmest that it's been. Still, though, for the riders, this temperature is not too bad.
No, this is a perfect racing temperature, really. I'm looking out there at the flags. The flags are pretty mild. It's a different wind. It's a headwind down the front straightaway. It's a real light one. But all week we've had a tailwind, so that could play part too. If these riders aren't smart and think about this thing when they come into a race and look at the flags in the morning and maybe make gearing changes that they might need to, somebody could be in a spot they don't want to be with their bike and be off on gearing a little bit.
And a spot you don't want to be in your bike is in pits at this stage. Benny Solis back in and off the bike, and it looks like they're going to be moving that one behind the wall, and he is distraught, understandably so. You're running the Daytona 200 and to not be able to bring it home. That is tough duty indeed. Up front, Beaubier now has stretched that margin to 1.6 seconds. Last time at the line, he is clocking off 1 minute 50 laps, and everybody else, save Jake Gagne, are running 151s. Gagne, very impressive. His best lap of the race so far, the best one run at a 150.087. So Jake Gagne showing some serious smoke. And looks like Gerloff has gone by Zemke. Yes, indeed. So he's made that pick. He's been working at it for a bit as well. He's got it done. But Zemke, nice drive out of the chicane. And again, very early going. We're going to take a break now because coming up in just a few laps, pit stops at Daytona. Back at Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona 200 well and truly underway. As a matter of fact, we are getting close to pit stop windows. I couldn't pick the number up there, but problems down in pit lane once again. Jake Lewis. Jason?
sitting down here right now with 2012 East Coast Supersport champion and first-time Daytona 200 runner Jake Lewis. He just came pulling down pit lane. They're having a discussion right now. I don't see anything physically wrong with the motorcycle. Nobody's thrashing on it. Nobody's working on it. So maybe we can get a word in with these guys as soon as they break from their little team briefing here. Something is definitely going on. We'll have to have a look. Garrett Gerloff is now coming down pit lane also.
All right, it has begun. Pit stops. We're in that window, about 17 to 21. Everybody estimates normally is where that pit stop window is going to be. And here he comes, the number 8 of Gerloff, down into pit lane. Stops on his marks. That was precise.
This is so far right now, guys. This is a perfect pit stop. Wheels are out, wheels are in. Garrett's very, very calm, just like we've been talking about. Got to be calm during these pit stops. The gas is in, and he's on his way, boys. That was a fast pit stop. And just an update, Jake Lewis, his bike is being pushed behind pit wall.
Wow, that was beautifully executed. That's exactly what you want to see. And that was incredibly well done. Sad to hear about Lewis. Obviously coming up from the Supersport ranks and looking to do well. Basically, didn't he take over the seat that Bobby Fong had last year?
That's right.
Yeah. So good opportunity on Mean Motorsports Yamaha. There's Steve Rapp.
Well, you saw a perfect pit stop by the Yamaha Extended Program, the Graves crew. They are a top-notch team out here. It doesn't get any better than that. Those guys have been practicing that stuff, and it paid off. You had a rider come in calm, hit his marks. Everybody did their job, and he was able to get back on the bike. It looked just perfect. So,
well, you really said something there that can establish the tenor, the tone of a pit stop. The rider came in calm.
Right. I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, you can't get too excited. You just got to come in, get off the bike, and at that point, it's the crew's job to remain calm as well. So as they get in a hurry, with that team, they know what it takes to win this thing, and they know how to get these pit stops done in a timely manner, and that's exactly what you saw there.
Watching the scrap a little bit further down in the pack. Jason?
Yeah, you know, Scott, just listening to what you say there, someone with as much experience as you, as Cameron Beaubier starts coming down towards me, I've definitely noticed that as a rider, if you come in calm, your crew has a tendency to stay calm. And boy, Garrett came in smooth as silk. Now we're going to watch his teammate. This is where one little bobble after Garrett Gerloff's crew got him out of here so quick. This is what can cause problems during this Daytona 200. Cameron brings the bike in nice and smooth. The crew goes to work. So far, so good. Looks just as good as the last pit stop that they just got done running with Garrett Gerloff. Gas is in. Cameron's on the bike. Boy, these guys got these pit stops down as Joey Pasquarella is back in the pits.
Yes, they can. These guys get it done.
Super smooth.
Both of them were just superb.
Here we go. Pasquarella, he's definitely having issues today. Bike goes out. There's no hurry here. He's probably done for the day right there from the looks of things.
Yeah, you can see that look. He just kind of looked up and went, oh, geez. All right, we also hear that the number 5 of Rapp, filling in here for the injured Dane Westby, is bringing that Geico Honda down pit lane.
Here comes Steve Rapp, the fill-in rider. Only got laps in this motorcycle yesterday. And the team, Steve looks very calm. He's won the Daytona 200 before. He gets a little drink. The team working to get the rear end of the motorcycle. So it's rear tire only and fuel going in for the 5. So Steve Rapp back on the bike. Once he gets it started, he is off back on the racetrack.
That looked to be a very well executed stop. And this was a team, remember, last year struggled with that front tire change, and they elected to just do the rear. They thinking back?
I knew they were thinking about that because I was talking to them before the weekend, and they were worried about that. They didn't want that to happen to Westby, and Westby's out of the race, but obviously they don't want it to happen to Rapp. So they're lessening their chances of that happening to them again. The Dunlop front tire is capable of going the whole race. So we'll wait and see on that next round of pit stops if they decide to try to change that. You know, only if the rider probably tells them he doesn't feel good with the front, they'll probably change it at that point.
Boy, it looked like Zemke was going to run down, go over that double line, and come on in, and he has elected to stay out for one more lap. So he is now working lap number 19, and a lot of others have come in on 17 and 18. So Zemke is out, but Fong and Gagne are coming down pit lane as well as we're watching the 98 of Zemke. Let's check in again. Greg White.
8-second pit stop is what the crew said. So Bobby Fong, they're going front tire and rear tire. Bobby tries to take a quick drink. Not only a drink, but he took part of what we call a gel. So Bobby is back out on the racetrack. Very interesting. First time I've seen that happen. And Jake Gagne goes out right behind him. So a good stop for the Road Race Factory crew as well.
Wow, that was a quick stop for Fong. He wasn't even really ready to get back on the bike quick enough. They were ahead of the rider that time. And Perry and those guys are doing a great job down there with those pit stops for Fong. So he's got to kind of speed up his program if they're going to be that quick next time. Bobby could have been back on the bike just a split second earlier, I thought.
I was doing just a very rough count at that, and I had that about 12 seconds. That's quick.
Not bad for a first stop, and get that under their belt. Now the crew can kind of take a sigh of relief. Okay, we got through that first one. Just like the rider, we got to the first pit stop, and here we go, Elena Myers with her new Troy Lee helmet coming down pit road.
Elena is in.
Yeah, so far, guys, Elena came cruising in here. Doesn't look like it's going to hurt. This might be unscheduled. I can't tell. She didn't jump off the bike the way I thought she'd jump off the bike. A little bit slower pit stop than we saw with the Yamaha guys. She's grabbing a drink right now. This is her first Daytona 200. She said she's going to go out there and be consistent and circulate. They're having a problem getting the fuel in the bike. They got it full now. And they're having a little bit of problem still. If you look here, having some trouble getting that rear wheel in. They got her. Oh, and she's headed back out, guys.
Well, once again, as Elena is out, here comes your leader, Jake Zemke, down into the pits.
Boy, guys, it's getting really busy right here. We got Jake Zemke in, our leader here. James Rispoli coming in right behind him. They've got this rear wheel already out of the Ducati. We know the Ducatis have had trouble in the past just getting to the finish, but Jake told me he's got a plan for this race. So far, so good. Headed back over here to the Rispoli thing. They've also got some trouble getting this rear tire in, boys. The front went in, no problem. Actually, the same front tire on Rispoli's bike. New rear, these guys are going out together. Looks like Rispoli's actually going to beat Zemke out of the pits. Two little bit slower pit stops, guys, than we saw with the Yamahas. Not quite as efficient.
JD Beach is in right now, the number 95 on that Red Bull bike. And JD and the team with an incredibly quick stop. And they're back out on the racetrack. They made up some seconds on their competition with that stop.
But Greg, you didn't almost have time to talk about it. That stop was so quick. Interesting here that Rispoli had issues on the rear tire change, and Zemke a little bit of a hang up on that front tire, and it cost him. And you notice though, Zemke very slow and casual on the release, not cooking that clutch at all.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of remain somewhat calm after botching the front tire change on that team right there. I mean, that's maybe a team that should have thought about opting to leave that front tire on. Nevertheless, they changed it. They lost some serious ground right there, but now he comes out with the 43. He's going to try to sweep right around the outside of Rispoli and make quick work of him and try to get back somewhere where he was at, but not a good stop.
Is the thinking there, if you think now we do want to do a front tire change, do it the first time, then I don't have to worry about it. But before we get to that, Greg White.
Yeah, speaking about front tire changes, Melissa Paris is in. One time she ran in the top 10. They go rear tire only on this Honda CBR 600RR. Fuel and rear tire, and Melly is on her way. She gets that thing out of pit lane.
Came in from the 10th spot when she made the run down pit lane. So having a very solid run.
Scott, I've been sitting here, Scott, looking at some of these riders are going back out in pairs. You know, some of them are going to have a dancing partner to help draft back up. Maybe you could key on how big of a deal that is compared to somebody who comes in, doesn't have anybody to draft with, and how much longer their day can be.
Yeah, I mean, it can make a long day out there by yourself. I mean, if you're not that guy, like the fastest guy on the racetrack, it's hard for you to reel that back in. So sometimes, like you said, you need that dancing partner, and that's what Zemke and Rispoli have.
Number 75, Huntley Nash in. As he gets off the motorcycle, it almost falls completely off the stand, and Huntley's able to save it. Now keep in mind, there's only 5 riders allowed to touch this motorcycle at one time, and there needs to be a fire extinguisher. So Huntley back off the motorcycle, getting all the drink he can, and the crew has got the bike ready to go. But Huntley's lost at least 10 to 15 seconds in his pit stop over some other competitors.
It was just a little hang up there, right?
Yeah, right when they went to put it on the stand, it almost tipped over, and that's that's a part of being when you compare that crew to the Graves crew. You know what I'm saying? Guys that have worked together for a long time and are really dialed in and ready to do that stuff. And it is difficult. Everybody's under pressure. You can see Pasquarella there kind of getting out of his way. He's just kind of out there tooling around. I don't know what he's doing. He's just riding around today because his race is pretty much over.
Well, and I think we do need to point out to people that this is the only race where these teams do this too. So the teams that have been around a while and are thinking, you know what, let's practice this up a lot before we get there. Yeah. Others, you know, they just haven't done it that often, and that's the deal. Now, things are cycling through, folks, and the bad news for everybody. Remember, we were talking about Cameron Beaubier building that little margin in case there was a problem in the pit stop. He didn't have a problem in the pit stop. Everybody else did, and Beaubier now up by 6 seconds. So Gerloff, Nash, Fong, Gagne, and the gang, they have got some work to do. And we'll be here to cover it, so stay with us. As we get back to the Daytona 200, Mr. Beaubier has just turned his fastest lap of the race, a 1:50.529. That margin now up to almost 8 seconds. This man is in control.
He is. He just like you said, he just kind of cruised around now. He's got some traffic. That's Elena Myers and Melissa Parrish that he's coming up on right there. He's going to lay back and get them on the exit of the chicane. No big deal.
By the way, that number 41, I wanted to mention Luke Mossey, who's out there, British superbike rider, has come over and just said, I want to make a start. I guess his dad ran this race years ago, was a great rider as well, came over and ran it a couple of times, and Luke said, it's you know, something I've always wanted to do. He's going back to out of Britain and back to the British superbikes, but great to have him here.
Wow, looking at that right there, you can see Melissa Parrish's Honda's really fast, and Elena Myers is trying, it didn't look like it had the legs on that thing coming down the front straightaway, so she's struggling around out there. But nevertheless, still out there. She's Melissa's in 11th, Elena's in 12th spot. So those two girls are really running strong here today. It's fun to watch, and he's getting a good look at them, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And I'll tell you, Melissa, that stop that they did, that team executed beautifully. I mean, it was a crisp, clean stop. We saw the little bit of a struggle for Elena, but Melissa, boy, they did a nice job, and she is hustling that bike right now.
Melissa had some surgery over the offseason, had to re-break her leg, put another rod in her leg. She had broke it a while back, so the doctors feel like they needed to go to work on it. She's still having some pain when she walks, but she said the thing feels a lot better when she's on the motorcycle. So it shows right now. She looks like she's riding aggressively and smooth but aggressive, and got a good run going right here.
Up from 22nd to her current 11th spot. So that is a wonderful day. There is Bobby Fong on the number 50. That's the Triple Crown RMR Yamaha YZF R6, and he is having himself a solid run. Not quite as close as you'd like to be, though, Greg.
I definitely like to be closer, but one of the things I noticed that I mentioned when Bobby came in was that he took some gel, and basically this little bottle here contains some gel. It's, you know, a few ounces is 100 calories. It's basically pure sugar, and it's a lot of what endurance athletes use on longer runs. You may ride your bicycle longer than an hour and a half. So very interesting that Bobby decided to take some energy during his pit stop that wasn't added to his water bottle. So that's what the gel thing was all about. A nice little touch for Bobby Fong, thinking ahead, because later in the race he's going to need that energy, especially if it comes down to a dash to the checkered flag.
A little extra burst.
Yeah, anything you can do to help yourself, if you feel like you need that, then that's a good way to go. A lot of cyclists use that stuff, and you know, it's good on the fly energy right there.
I was going to say that's you know something very interesting. It's not just the bikes that need fuel.
No, the riders, yeah, they got to burn clean too. So you know, hopefully these riders have thought about their diet and have eaten right, and you know, eating something that burns, that doesn't take a lot of energy to burn. That's key in a sport like this and an endurance race like this.
You know, we just had a good look there at the 32 of Jake Gagne, while Beaubier is controlling things noticeably, running some very good runs. Gagne still has fastest lap of the race at a 1:50.0. Put that in earlier. Here is Steve Rapp, and he has fought his way up to 9th spot on that Geico Honda, and he's got some company right there coming by the 75 of Huntley Nash. But for Rapp, you know, just called in at the last moment, and loads of experience this guy has on running these races and bringing it home.
Oh, definitely. He's been around for a while, and he's ridden a lot of different stuff. So just getting that quick call to come replace Dane Westby, I think he's doing a great job. But somebody else is a 75. I think he's riding really as good as I've seen him ride. Huntley Nash out there after not such a great pit stop is rebounding. He's in the 8th spot, and you know, he's a minute behind the leaders and about 30 seconds behind JD Beach. So still a lot of racing left.
And if I'm looking at this right, that is the number 7 of Fernando Almontini, who was in 17th the last time by, and this should put him up. And I mean, he's running some awfully quick laps, running a 153 flat. Everybody around him in that 16th, 18th there, you're running 158s. So Amantini, something has changed up. I don't know whether he had a bobble or whatever, but he has reeled these guys in. We are working lap 25, and now up front, Beaubier just completing lap number 26. Lots to go here at Daytona. Good scrap going on right here. You're looking at the number 13, Paris, as she continues to hang on right now to the 11th spot. Got the 41 of Mossy intermix. I think he's down
he's
a lap or two.
Yeah,
he's
I
not
see him on the board.
Yeah, he's not on the first page of the monitor. So it's the 21 right behind of Elena Myers, who actually is next in the queue, running in 12th right now.
You know, I got to wonder, we were talking about at the break of Elena when she came into the pits. Didn't seem like any sense of urgency, and I just think she's like, she knows she can't win the race. So just stay calm and just kind of get some laps on this triumph. Obviously they missed the setup. Something's not there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of cool to see her, you know, like she's been around a while. You know, don't get in a big hurry and just kind of be calm. If you're not in it, you just take what it's going to give you. And she's just out there riding around right now. She can't get around Melissa Paris. And typically she would probably be a little quicker than Melissa. Who knows? But right now she can't seem to make it happen.
Now Melissa is riding a superb race right now. She really is doing a nice job. That pit stop for hers, I mean, it was great execution. Everything clicking off just beautifully. So she's having herself a superb day, as is this guy. Man, Cameron Beaubier and this YES Graves Yamaha, he now has himself up, but it's over 10 seconds right now. He's just clocking them.
Well, we talked about it leading into the show, you know, and it wasn't hard to really pick this guy, to be honest with you. I mean, for me, I thought, you know, it's just real simple. You look at the lap times leading into the race, and, you know, everybody kind of got a false sense of what it might be in that first run when everybody was running around together, but he was just sitting with everybody and just letting them run with him, and he knew he had something in the bag and just waited a little bit longer than maybe we all expected him to pull it out and show it to him. But he's done it now, and that's the last thing they've seen of him. Now he's stretching that gap to 11.4 second lead over his teammate Garrett Gerloff, and he's got a nice little 9-second lead over Bobby Fong. So things have really stretched out. Zemke and Gagne are the only two really on track that mean anything. And wait, Rispoli and Beach, they're running together, but they're all 10, 15 seconds apart. So a couple of pairs throughout the race, still a couple of good races going on.
So you're saying this Beaubier guy might have a future?
I believe he does. After what we saw last year with him getting hurt, coming back, I mean, we knew this kid was super special. Talked to Chuck Graves, and, you know, a few things he enlightened me on as this kid does when they look at the data. Pretty impressive.
And here we have a look at Steve Rapp on the Geico Honda. And Steve has brought it up now into the 8th spot, having a pretty solid run. But the guy who was supposed to be on it is down in the pits with Greg.
Well, Dane Westby, a big crash, and you were injured, and you had to, well, Steve Rapp, I guess, filled in for you. So how are you feeling right now, both physically and mentally?
Greg, this was probably the most disappointing race to be sitting here on the sidelines for. This first 200 I've had to actually be a live spectator for. So I tried really hard in the off season. I'm 17 pounds down. I know that I had something for old Beaubier. So, you know, just looking forward to the next round.
What does it feel like right now? You have spleen injury is what we're hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Geico CBR 600RR was really good. It was just cold out there, and I followed the bike in with the handlebar, and it flipped and caught me in all the soft stuff. So, you know, it was my fault, but we'll be ready for the next round.
All right, thanks for talking to us, Dane.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know, the good thing for him is there's quite a bit of a gap between what we've got scheduled as in round 2. So that'll give him hopefully the time he needs to get back a little bit healthy where he can start training again. Like you said, he's really been working hard in the offseason, lost some weight. Felt like he needed to get on par with some of these other lightweight riders that he's racing against. Power to weight in this class really means something. So Westby's done everything he can right. unfortunately a cold track in that chicane that bit so many people. Cost him a 200 shot.
Well, you know, I ran into him out in the grandstands on Thursday when I was out just watching. We got into a nice chat, and he was so excited about that Honda. He said, I haven't ever gotten on a bike that was that easy to ride that fast. And he said, I'm so looking forward to the season. Then to have that happen, it's tough. But Steve Rapp doing a nice job filling in for him. Here is your battle for the 6th spot. J.D. Beach hanging on in front of one of the Super Sport champions from last year, Mr. Rispoli, who was very, very quick and aggressive early in the going, and just sort of has been laying back just a little bit, it seems. Don't exactly know why, but J.D. Beach right now hanging on to that 6th spot.
I think what happened, you got all those guys running together, and it's easy to stay in the pack. I don't think he's actually slowed down much. I think it just got separated in that pit stops, and now you find yourself out there. He's trying to get up there with J.D. Beach, and maybe they can work together. But they've got quite a ways to go to catch up to Jake Gagne, J.D. Beach's teammate out there. But the 43 is going to school today at the 200. I think he's doing a great job, and so is the 95 in front of him, Beach.
J.D. on that road race factory bike, and opened it up just a little bit last lap. His last lap, he turned one just a little bit quicker than Rispoli did, and put that to good use. Rispoli, as you said, making a big step, and this is a big step for these guys, isn't it?
It is. You know, I mean, he knew he could ride a 600 fast, and there's not a real big difference between Super Sport bike. Look at that Suzuki getting a good draft off that Yamaha.
Oh, we're getting reports that the 98 of Zemke is slowed and has pulled off track. Boy, this is not good, and he's pulling it off and parking it at this point. The Desmo Valachi Ducati 848 of Jake Zemke has parked it, and this is not a good sign. Let's check in. Yeah, Greg?
Just as he came across start finish line, as he was heading into turn number 1, when he rolled off the throttle to grab the brakes, you could hear the engine just completely die. Jake's hand went in the air and he moved off to the right, and now he's in the situation he's in. So very unfortunate for the former Daytona 200 winner.
Yeah, it's a bummer. He didn't get to show that Troy Lee Daytona helmet off in winner's circle like he's done before. But, you know, gave it a good run. As he comes across the start, you can see him just pull off straight. He knew something was wrong with the bike. And Daytona's a tough track for the Ducati folks. They've not had good luck here before. They've won it once out of all the attempts they've had. It's just a real strain on the motors to run these things this hard, this long, at these kind of speeds. And sometimes the twins make it, sometimes they don't.
Yep, he had himself a pretty decent day going, and he's filling in as well, and to have him be able to step in and put on a performance like that is pretty special. Unfortunately, issues there as we are watching our race leader, Cameron Beaubier, and then YES Graves Yamaha extended service, and he is just having a career day. It has been spectacular. Back to this great battle. 95, Beach and Rispoli continue to swap it up for 6th as they're having a great war here. But up front, it is Beaubier over teammate Gerloff, and sitting in 3rd is Bobby Fong. Zemke is out, so Gagne will move up into that 4th spot. April 4th on Speed, Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auction, sizzles in the Sunshine State. See the most amazing cars all in one place, and every one of them up for grabs. Barrett-Jackson at Palm Beach, magic. Exclusive live coverage begins April 4th at 2 Eastern, only on Speed. Speaking of magic, Beaubier. Wow.
Yes.
Over 13 seconds he's got in hand now.
Yeah, well, we talked about, you know, some of these riders needing a dance partner. This guy doesn't need anybody to dance with. He's dancing with that thing right now on the track by himself, setting the pace. He set the pace all weekend leading up to the race. He knew what he had, knew what he could do. We saw, I think he's just a brilliant rider. He really is. I mean, this guy is something special out of the whole field. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this kid on a MotoGP bike in the near future.
That good?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, he certainly seems it. His teammate, Gerloff, and remember at the top of the show, Gerloff said, I think I got something for him. I've been able to run in front of him here before, and I think Mr. Beaubier has answered fairly clearly that, well, find it.
Well, I like the confidence of the kid. And, you know, after hurting himself here last year, it's been a total rebuild, you know, mentally and physically to get back to this point, you know, where we felt like coming into last year, he was the guy that's going to be the guy to beat. But didn't pan out. He broke his leg, and you know he's really taking his time. He's so young, you know, that just sneak back up on it, get comfortable, and talk to him. He's still trying to get to that comfort level. This will do his head a lot of good in one respect, and the other it won't. His teammate put the whoop on him, but to get out there, and if he can finish this 57 laps with no issues, bring that thing home in second, that's something you can build on in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And after that, I mean, it was a nasty off, broke his femur. It was a long recovery. Came back late in the year, put him on a super sport bike just to get his feel back. Ended up winning one right at the end. So it's coming.
And I like the way he approached it. He didn't come back and win the first one. It took him a while. And even in the super sport class, when he probably should have wiped the field up, couldn't do it because that's some strong guys like Rispoli Lewis. Those guys would step their game up. So he just kind of snuck back up on it when Nola rolled around. He felt like the last race of the year. He said, now it's time to pull the trigger, and he won that handily. And here he is running second in the Daytona 200.
Lap 35 of 57, as you see. So we do have one more round of pit stops that will be coming up. And Beaubier continues to have that run. Let's go through it. As you can see across the top of the screen, Gerloff, Fong. Gagne now fourth with Zemke's departure. Rispoli and Beach have that good battle going on for fifth. Then Rapp now up to seventh. Nash eighth. Young ninth. And Melissa Paris 10th place, doing a very, very solid run.
Well, she's been in the top 10 before, and we'd like to see her finish up this time. The last time it didn't work out so well for her, so hopefully that Honda feels a bit better to her. She looks aggressive when she's riding. Now we're looking at 50 of Bobby Fong as he rolls through him in a distant third place. Kind of a lonely third place. Actually, though, there's a rider named Jake Gagne only 5 seconds behind him, so he can't relax too much.
Not too much, and they've been running very similar times, so Gagne's got to pick it up if he wants to run down Fong, who this year running for Triple Crown RM Racecraft with that motorsport.com sponsorship on this Yamaha, and he's one of those guys that he just loves this new program and this new bike, and he always rides super hard and super aggressive and very quick.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that Triple Crown outfit with joined forces with Richie Morris Racing, and they've got a lot of riders out here this weekend in a lot of different classes, and they've had some great success already. So here we go again with Bobby Fong out there rolling around in the top 3 spot. We know they're good in the pits, so we're going to keep a monitor on that when they come in for that second and final pit stop. That could be the crucial, and that can change a lot of things, as we've seen already, how it's separated the field. Can everybody pull that same deal, and who will have problems in the pit? So still a lot to be decided in this race.
Good look there at Jake Gagne on the other Road Race Factory bike as he sits in the 4th spot. And then best battle on the track right now, Rispoli and Beach for 5th. They're the Geico boys. They're getting ready. Pit stops are coming. We're going to take a quick break. That is Cameron Beaubier, and you saw a quick glimpse of the team's pit stops just a little bit early on. They executed to perfection. The riders have been near spectacular, and as a result, Beaubier now a 14-second lead. And boy, right now, that's a pit stop margin. So if there's an issue, he's got some protection. But the way that team has executed their stops, we would expect nothing less than another superb stop for Beaubier and teammate Gerloff, and that's coming. The teams are starting to set up. It's great to have you here with us on Speed as we are having a great view of this 72nd running of this legendary motorcycle endurance race, along with Scott Russell, 5-time winner of this event, and Greg White and Jason Pridmore down in pit lane. And you know, oftentimes we'll see this race be absolutely a war from start to finish. This year, it's Beaubier, and he is putting a clinic on.
He is. I mean, we kind of thought we might see a big battle like we saw last year, and we did for the first part of the race. But clearly, this kid was holding back a little bit. Knew he didn't have to go too fast in the beginning of the race, and you know, you can really lose the race early in it. And so, trying too hard, he was able to calm down, and just when everything started weeding itself out, he pulled the trigger, and now he's way out front. And he's continued to build on that lead as well.
Oh, yeah.
About 0.3 of a second faster than his teammate, sometimes a second faster. So it's kind of up and down, but Beaubier's pretty consistent across the board with his lap times. He looks aggressive, but he's really smooth. You know, He goes up to the brakes pretty quick, but he's got such a smooth touch and such a good transition from the brake to throttle. There's a lot of little things that separate him from the rest of the field right now, and that 15 seconds says it all.
Well, and that's a good point, isn't it? You can be aggressive on the brakes and everything and not lose smoothness. But that's the gift.
Yeah, the fastest riders in the world, they have the smoothest and slowest hands, you know. So it looks like they're being aggressive on the motorcycle, but these light touches on the brake and then building that pressure, same with the throttle.
Yep.
Hooking that tire up, driving off the corner, getting the bike turned. I mean, doing everything right and everything smooth. I mean, flicking the bike around, they don't do that. You can see him picking it up, wheeling it around. I mean, he's having a good time doing what he's doing too right now. And just like it's another day at the office for him.
Well, and I would think the measure of the good time is as you're doing it, you look every time you go by that board and it's plus more.
That's right.
That's what you love to see.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here, this 15-second plus margin now is a two-prong attack. Certainly, it's Beaubier doing a superb job on the bike, but when he made that break, opened it up, gave himself, what was it, 3-4 seconds, he got into the pits, that team stepped up.
That's right.
And Eric stepping up right now as second place. Beaubier's teammate Gerloff makes his way down into the pits for the stop. And nice and calm on the marks.
Yes, he is. He's right on the marks, as you say. And this is where looking at your pit board during this long event comes into play. You realize you got a big gap. All you want to do is come in here, let your team know that you're in control. They've put front and rear rubber on this bike. The fuel's already in. The stand is down. Garrett's down. Another clean stop for this Daytona 200 rookie.
I like how calm, you see, just like they just came in for a standard pit stop in a practice session. That's what that looked like to me, is from the rider standpoint.
That's a two-tire stop. Elena's in.
And Elena has ran just an absolutely smooth and steady race, and she's getting ready to get off the bike. It looks like she's talking to her crew again. She steps off the motorcycle. Let's see if they can get this rear tire out. As of now, it does not look like a front tire will be going in. Rear tire is struggling just a little bit. This is what kind of hurt her in the last pit stop. Also struggling with the fuel. But so far, she's done exactly what she said. It's so important in these races when you're a rookie to try to get all those 200 miles in, so that you know when you come back here, you've already ran this race once. And Steve Rapp is coming in behind us here. Elena is back on the bike. They've got the tire in. She's got the bike started. Now she goes, guys.
And here comes Steve Rapp on the number 5, Geico Honda. Off the motorcycle, his water waiting for them. The crew is putting rear tire only. A quick comment to the crew, Steve letting them know what is going on. The fuel is going in, so the tire's on, fuel's ready to roll, and Steve is back out on the racetrack. Nice stop.
And here comes your leader, Beaubier in. The margin after Gerloff's stop, over 20 seconds. Jason.
Boy, 20 seconds is definitely a nice cushion to have as Cameron gets off. He knows right now that he is close to becoming the next rider to win this race. Second time he's tried to run this thing. Boy, that is an absolutely clean and perfect pit stop by this Yamaha crew. Really, these guys deserve a big round, guys.
I don't know how you could do it quicker. That was spectacular.
I don't know that you can. You know, they don't need to. You know what I'm saying? They've got such a good stop. Here we go, Fong. He's coming in. These guys are good at the pit stop. These guys believe they're really fast, as fast as anybody with a pit stop. Well, they need to be now.
They certainly do, because Fong is in third place, and you bet he looks up at the scoring tower and sees.
Gets the gel, and then he goes for the water bottle, and it's in the fuel man's back pocket. Struggling with that, drops it. I mean, these are the things that you just can't do. Now the crew's waiting on him. There's probably 2 seconds they lost right there, easy.
Yeah, at least. And, you know, in his defense, in all these riders' defenses, when you're going for the water bottle, whatever you're doing, you've been running 39 laps at Daytona. You know, those hands, the vibration, they're probably numbed up if you're dealing with pump or anything, trying to do intricate little things with your hands. There was one that I saw that I just absolutely loved, watching some of the racing from last year. Crew guy had the tank on his back. Rider got off, grabbed the tubes, boom, done. That was sweet.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely ways they could clean that up, but I think the crew did a great job on that spot. And here comes Melissa Paris.
The crew was superb.
Yes.
Paris in from 10th, having an absolutely great run here. And their last stop, their first stop, was really, really stout. Let's see what happens, Greg.
All right, so Melissa Parrish, she came into pit lane and we're taking her feet off the pegs, which indicates to me that her feet are extremely hot. This time, they're going for a front tire, and they're having a bit of an issue with getting that in. But there it goes, front's on, fuel's in, and Melissa, who's top 10th right now, back out onto the racetrack, and she's going to get out just a tick ahead of JD Beach. That could be pretty interesting if Melissa can latch on to JD and get a really good outlap. It could bode well for her top 10 result here at Daytona.
Well, she just learned a little something right there. You see how aggressive JD got through that pit road, and this is part of the racetrack. This is where you got to be strong. You got to be in and out quick, and that's what JD Beats is maximizing, that in and that out. But I think for Melissa Parrish, what you saw hanging that leg off, Greg, I think that's that broken leg. So I think she was just kind of letting it hang off, probably getting some blood flowing in it after being on the peg like that. I'm just speculating.
I think it makes sense because when she got off and she was standing there, she was definitely weighted on the good leg. It was letting that other one breathe just a little bit, so to speak. And let's talk about that. Pit stops, you know, from the time you stop, that's important. But that in-lap and that out-lap on a colder, fresh tire, that's what separates people.
Yeah, see, different from my days when we ran here, we didn't have a pit road speed. So I could get down pit road at 140 miles an hour. It's a lot different now. So you got to maximize the in and the out. And that's really all the rider can do, and remain calm like you see the Graves guys doing. And here we see a mistake from the race leader, the number 6. Got plenty of room to recoup. Got into one a little hot, got a full fuel load, so got to get his head back around the fact of that. The bike's a little bit heavier now, quite a bit heavier with full fuel. So he regathers that composure, no problem. He'll get back on track, get back down to his rhythm, and he'll take off again. But yeah, now back to those pit stops. I mean, being calm, like when you come in, that's really all the rider can do, is be calm and get in and get out as quick as he can.
And this man, Rispoli, has not made the call to pit lane yet, so he's just trying to do anything he can right here to run things up a little bit. When Beaubier had that moment, when they crossed the stripe, he had 16 seconds over Gerloff. We'll see what that cost him next time by, because it's at the finish stripe when that comes up. Rispoli right there, and didn't stop, still third.
Yeah, I kind of like, I mean, it's okay strategy because it's something that we used to do back in the day. We would always run a little bit longer in those first and 2, and that left me the least amount of laps left to run on those last new tires. So if I needed to go faster in the end, I had more tire.
Now, do these guys, is there any fuel calculation going on? So if you go a little longer, you can take a little out of that dump can and put a little less in, save a little time?
No, I don't think they fill it out. They probably fill the dump can to where they need, and when the thing's topped off, they're done. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't it, but basically all you end up by staying out longer, you got a little bit fresher tire for that last run. For whatever it's worth.
Sorry, guys. You know, it's funny, just talking about pit stops. These guys all come into this race so fit and ready to go before the start of the year. But there's nothing like riding around the banks of Daytona for 200 miles and the forces it puts on your body. So when you see these riders coming down pit lane, just trying to stretch their legs a little bit and things, that's because we're not used to running this long of a race in our series, and especially with, like I said, the forces that these bankings create.
And in that tuck position, Jason, with your knees and you're in a locked position, your head down, looking up. I remember my neck used to get so sore, and my knees would too. You know, these guys are training on bicycles. Their legs are always moving. Here, they're kind of stationary. You're jumping from side to side of the motorcycle, but for the most part, they're kind of locked in a position, and you'll see riders sometimes stretching their legs out. And yeah, it takes a toll. You can't really simulate this kind of training.
Well, and that's a good point. You're in that tuck. You're trying to keep your head up. You're up on the high banks. The compression into that banking is fighting everything you want to do.
And it really will work your neck. You know, like it's pressing you down, and you're looking as far as through the banking as you can see. And yeah, it'll get to you. But these kids are young. They'll be all right.
They'll be all right. They rebound quick, too. That's the other thing. Beaubier, Gerloff, Rispoli, yet to pit in third, Fong, and Gagne. That's your top 5 as we're heading into the last laps of Daytona. Boy, Rispoli has yet to pit, and he's starting to push the outside of that envelope in terms of the window here.
And you see the difference. He's a 53.8 to the Gerloff of 51.8. So staying out on that tire right now, he's lost a couple of seconds in that last lap alone. So he knows it's time to pit, legs out, coming in pit road right now. This is where the rider wants to maximize that speed. Get down to this line right here, get that pit road speed limiter on. You don't want to overdo it. That will cause you a drive-through penalty.
And as I see him coming on pit lane, guys, it is so frustrating when you come from so much speed. Back in the day, we used to just rip down here like Scott's been saying. But boy, all of a sudden, you got to put it on the pit lane speed limiter. He comes in nice and calm, very quiet, hits his mark perfectly. Rear stand goes up. Looks like they're going to put a tire on the rear. Actually, the rear stand is completely missed right now. They got it back underneath there. Chain is off. James nice and relaxed, just getting a little bit of a drink. Front and rear tires. Fuel looks like it's almost in. Bike is off the stand. I could see that, guys, actually when the pit stop started. This is a disastrous pit stop, and it seems like we see this every year. These crews just are not used to doing these kind of pit stops. They've put the bike back up on the stand. Now it's just a question of how much fuel did they get in the bike, because we saw a lot of fuel come down all over the machine. Chain is now on, but they're still struggling, boys. This is what, as a rider, you've got to keep your cool, you got to keep your calm, you got to remember, this race has still got another 15 laps or so to go. Hopefully he'll get a good out lap here and still be able to hold his position.
That's a good chance. He just lost a podium position right there, or a shot at it anyway, because that was a terrible pit stop. And
the irony is the front tire went on like that.
Yeah, and you missed it with the rear stand, and that just sets the pace for the whole pit stop, you know, and now they struggle with the rear. Now James, like Jason said, it's so critical that he remains calm, because you can go back out there and try to do too much on this first lap and be excited about it and really make a huge mistake.
And yet, Scott, what was frustrating is I could see that the stand wasn't on, but they were already starting to work on it, so my eyes deceived me, and I thought, oh, everything's fine, until the bike fell off the stand. So, and then that's when things start getting frantic, because the fuel starts pouring out the bike, and guys are trying to lift the bike up. And that's why it's really important, like you said, 7th place or 6th place is still good enough for points and getting on to the next round. Don't go out and make a mistake and compound that.
Just a chain reaction right here. And
yeah, that's a very good point, Jason. It's like, okay, you're not going to get the win, except that get the points, maximize the points, because it's a long championship. This is only the first round. It's huge. It's the Daytona 200, but it's one event in terms of points.
Exactly. So you don't get an opportunity. The rest of the year, these guys will have a double format. So if you screw one race up, you get another shot. Here, you got one deal at Daytona. So you got to get as many points as you can and take that to the next round.
And as we are closing in on 10 laps to go, Beaubier up by 17.5 seconds over Gerloff. Fairly similar margin. Gerloff back to Fong. Another good gap to Gagne, then Beach. So right now, this is about as split, broken up a race as we've seen in a long time. And up front anyway, other than obviously with Rispoli, nobody gained or lost a ton in those pit stops. And so it's just stayed, this gap has stayed wide open.
I can look down all the way through the top 20, and there's nobody really racing together. This field is definitely stretched out. Definitely not the face of the race that we thought we might see, and that we've seen in the last couple of years, which was just chaos coming to the start-finish line. It's going to be a lot more calm for this number 6 guy, Cameron Beaubier, to just cruise around right now. This is like a long practice session for him.
Well, and you know, it's interesting to put it in perspective maybe. Okay, it's not going to have the excitement of previous Daytona 200s, but I think you're seeing something pretty special unfolding here in this clinic that Beaubier's put.
You still see the importance of the race and the big deal about winning Daytona. You know, once you win that first one, man, you're there. Then you want another one. He's already won a Rolex watch earlier today. Got presented with that. That's a great gift that the Daytona Speedway's come up with. Started doing that in 1992. And so if this kid stays around in America, I assume he'll be having a couple of those on his arm and a couple more of these wins easy, if they don't ship him off to Europe pretty quick.
Well, you know, there's nothing really more special or harder to get in many ways is a Rolex at Daytona. And so to leave here with that, that's a nice thing. And then if you back it up with the win in this race, that's pretty special, as he certainly seems to be.
It's a pretty special guy on a special team, on a special motorcycle, and it all comes together for him today. Which is great. Had a good run here last year, but this is a lot better run. His teammates doing an awesome job as well. The last time by, they both ran almost identical lap times, but they're 17 seconds apart on track.
Well, here, let's put this in perspective. Up onto the banking.
He just lapped the 8th place rider.
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for. And I mean, that's a clinic. You're not kidding.
That's pretty spectacular stuff.
Oh, this will be good for Huntley to get a good look at it.
Check it. That was Gerloff.
Oh, well.
That's what I was looking at,
he's
too.
Already
That's why I paused for a
lap
minute.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Well, still.
Unless Huntley has not pitted yet, which I don't know that he has.
And speaking of not pitting, you know, Rispoli stayed out, and as you pointed out, on those worn tires, started losing some time. Then that awful pit stop went from 3rd to 7th, and is a good 5 seconds behind Rapp right now as well.
And that's all part of learning. You know, I mean, Daytona can be good to you, and it can be really cruel. So for a kid that was running just outside the top 3 now, drops off 3 more spots, and
well, and that's all part of the learning process, isn't it? Stepping up from super sport, now you're up into one of the primo events that unfolds, and you've learned some lessons here. Put that into your back pocket, come back again. You know he will, as will we, right after this. That's a sad look. That's Huntley Nash, who we just saw was running up into the top 10, and now he sits pit side. Greg?
Yeah, Huntley, I mean, a good solid top 10, 8th place going on for you guys, and what happened?
Yeah, I was just coming around the banking behind Gerloff, and after my 3rd pit stop, and as soon as we got on the front straight, the motor just exploded, the bike turned off, and I pulled in the clutch and rolled it into the pits. Man, it's a pretty big bummer. Team did great pit stops. We were running top 10. I was hoping I could finish my first Daytona 200, but we'll get them next time, I guess.
All right, we'll see you at the Road America?
Yep, hopefully.
All right, good luck, Hunt.
bummer for him.
Yeah, well, and especially late in the race. You know, you got a good run going. You know, you're feeling pretty good. All right, I'm not going to win, but I've got a solid thing going here. Got some decent points into the pocket, maybe everything. Oh, yeah, and it shuts down. Yeah,
bad deal.
There's a look at Steve Rapp, who hasn't maybe been absolutely flying in terms of pace, but has been extremely consistent and getting it done around here. Good pit stops by the team, and he finds himself in 6th spot.
Exactly. I mean, you know, to just get called up and really not been riding this Honda and getting off a Harley. I mean, doing what he does. Steve's a pretty amazing rider. Been around a long, long time. And he knows that if he can't win it, we'll just bring this thing home. It's good as it is. It's a 6th place motorcycle for him right now, and that's what he's doing with it.
One of the reasons we're taking a look at him is we're getting reports from the corners that there was something that may have been dangling off the back of it. I don't see anything at this stage. And it doesn't seem to be impeding his progress too much.
I shouldn't say it's a 6th place motorcycle. It could be better than that. It just depends on, you know, who's riding it. Right now, Steve's running in 6th on it, and he's doing a great job of keeping the thing upright. And for the Geico sponsor, I mean, that's what they want to see. I mean, they want to finish the race. They've already got one bike out of the race, Vinny Solis. So for having the number 5 Geico's Honda still out there rolling around, got to be happy.
Now we're getting a report that Melissa Paris is getting what's called a meatball flag, which is essentially a mechanical black flag, I believe, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure that's going to be a drive-through for her. For what I'm not sure. Yep.
6 crew members over the wall or something. There's a couple of regulations. I think Greg White might have the answer.
Yeah, so when 6 crew members go over the wall and one went over to actually give her some water, it's up to race direction, discretion on what they're going to penalize her with. So it's a ride-through penalty. And last time by, there was a 17-second difference because Melissa's in 9th place to 10th. So there's a possibility with the amount of time it takes to ride through this long pit lane at 50 miles an hour that she might drop all the way back to 11th. So that's a real big penalty for Melissa, who would have been a great result in the top 10. So we'll see how it goes for her in the ride-through.
Oh, that is a shame. She has had a great run going. And we're going to go back and show you the pit stop. Watch it right here, Scott. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that looks okay.
Yep.
There it is.
That's
1, 2, 3.
Yep. Can't be done. So obviously she's going to have to pay the price for that. The good thing is it's not a stop and go penalty anymore.
Yeah.
So a drive-through, she can still kind of hang into the area she's in, obviously. Having a great ride out there today. It's just a shame they're going to have to make her drive through for an infraction like that, but that's the rules, and they broke it, and they're going to have to pay for it.
And just to clarify, folks, when we froze it, if you were counting and you saw 6, the fire extinguisher guy is not counted as the 5 crew guys working on the car. That's a separate deal. So, but still, that guy hopped over the wall. That was one too many, and that's it. And if that stop that ride through takes as long as it might. The rider who's right behind her in that would be Elena Myers, who would pick that spot up. So that's tough. Tough indeed. She's really put together a strong run today. And I was just looking at the I don't know whether he just had an off, but Bobby Fong had run a lap at 2 minutes 1, and now he's right back down into the 151. So I'm not exactly sure what may have happened there. Maybe he had a little runoff somewhere.
Yeah, he may have overshot the chicane, something like that. Then you got to kind of roll through those hay bales and then rejoin the race. So if he lost that much time, that's probably the spot it happened in, but we don't know. Still, that podium spot, he's looking good for that. He's got that covered. All he's got to do is maintain for 9 more laps, and he'll be on the podium.
All right, and we got a little clarification, and as I believe, yep, there she comes down, just doing a ride through. So as you said, at least it's not a stop, and she just gets to continue on. And she's shaking her head. She's really confused and upset. And the clarification we just got from race control was it wasn't so much the guy handing her the water. They said that actually wouldn't be bad. But when he finished handing her the water, as he went back, he reached down and grabbed the rear wheel to get it out of the way and carry it across the wall. That now is a crew member working on the bike.
Well, that's just a rookie mistake, obviously. Yep. And as she came down pit road, I saw Elena Myers go flying past her across the start-finish line. So now Elena takes over that spot from her, and Melissa's got to try to run her down in a short amount of time.
And there is Elena, and right behind her, overall race leader to the tune of some 23.5 seconds. Cameron Beaubier over second place, and he is closing up here and on the back of Elena Myers right now as we have 8 laps to go. They're coming up on the 37 as well. John Ashmead, great to have him in this race. Won it in 1989.
Looking back at the time in the scoring, Elena Myers in that last lap ran the fastest lap of her race, too. Wow, of 153.3, which is pretty quick when you look at the Melissa Paris's fastest lap is a 154.2. So Elena's kind of pulled the plug on this Triumph. Maybe it's just taken her this long to kind of get the feel for the bike that she's been looking for.
I think, Scott, that she's hooked up with Rispoli, believe it or not, because I saw him actually catch her, and then now she's got the bit between her teeth, and I think those two are actually riding around together a little bit right now. So this late in the race, for her to run that fast for lap time is phenomenal. I think it's great, and she's going to get that 200 miles in today, which is great work.
You're right. You see Rispoli, but he's gapped her now. He's gotten away from her, and the leader has gone by her as well, and now she's going to end up kind of out there alone again, because she can't really quite hold that pace. But that for a minute there, she was able to and kind of follow James. And you can see them here. They come across start-finish line. There's Rispoli coming by, and the leader right behind him.
So
is that what I'm seeing, correct?
Yeah, you are correct, and that'll be lapping up to 7th place.
That's serious. That pit stop killed Rispoli.
Yeah, it truly did. We're looking here just to, right now, quite honestly, folks, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the scoring monitor, we really don't have any battles going on. This is just unheard of to have this thing split this far.
In a DSB class, Daytona SportBike class, yeah, this is unheard of.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's been a lot of attrition in this race. A lot of riders that we thought would be up there and be players. DeSalvo, these guys are gone now. Pasquarello, are out, so there's been a lot of attrition in this race, but wouldn't have really mattered to this number 6, Cameron Beaubier. It didn't matter who finished or who's still out there. He's in a league of his own today, and right now he's in another zip code as well.
And he's showing some great patience here. He just kind of followed Rispoli around and didn't force the issue. Knows he's got a huge margin. If he loses a second, no big deal. Got up in the banking, drafted by clean. I mean, he's just showing some really good racecraft.
And not to mention, he's probably got one of the fastest motorcycles. Did you see him blow by Rispoli down there on the low side? Didn't even need a draft. I mean, just drove right by him. That Yamaha extended service bike is super fast. They've done the pit stops flawlessly. He's rode flawless, and that's what wins races.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, Gagne had the fastest lap of the race so far to 150.0, but, Beaubier at 155 for his fastest lap, Gerloff at 156. So guys, 150.7 for Rispoli, Beach at 150. All of those guys can run to 150s. The problem is they can't do it lap after lap after lap after lap, which Beaubier has been able to do.
That all came from the first run of the part of the race when they were all running together. Once they stretch out, then you find out who's who when they got to do it by themselves, just like you said. And this number 6 has definitely set the pace all weekend long. Coming in here, I didn't think there was any chance of anybody being able to stay with him. And I may have been right on this deal.
It happens, huh?
Sometimes I'll get it right.
Mr. Russell called it, and it is so. It's that simple. Here's your top 5 as we are heading in to our final 5 laps. Don't go anywhere. We are back at the 72nd running of the Daytona 200 at Daytona International Speedway. Great to have you with us here. I'm Greg Kramer along with Scott Russell, Greg White, Jason Pridmore covering the action here. Pit stops are done. It is now just get it home. 6 to go, closing in on 5 to go. And at this point, it's get it home Cameron, because Gerloff, his teammate, 22 seconds behind, and then another gap of some 16 seconds back to third place Bobby Fong. The podium is pretty well split up at this point, and really not seeing a whole lot that can change here, but there is some laps to go. We've seen attrition here. We've seen some surprises have cropped up. It isn't done till it's done. And right now, but Beaubier has really had it his way today, and he's made it that way.
He has. This is the point in the race as he comes by 5 laps to go with a big lead like that. You start listening to the motorcycle. You start maybe thinking, oh man, just stay together. Just stay together and, you know, try to pass these lap riders cleanly and just stay out of trouble. Let's hurry up and get this thing over with is what he's thinking. And he's reeling in the number 5, Steve Rapp right there on the Geico Honda.
6th spot he is coming up on. That's just amazing. He's coming up on lap in 6th spot. You know, I've watched a few of these certainly over the years. I've never seen anything quite this dominant.
Did we say clinic earlier?
I believe we did.
I think that's what's going on here, yeah.
Steve Rapp, of course, just filling in for Dane Westby. Nice to see Dane down there in pit lane. I'm sure it's a tough place for him to be watching from right now instead of on the bike riding, but he'll be back.
I tell you, this has got to be a bit demoralizing for these riders, you know, like Rispoli looking back, seeing the 6 come around, and, you know, feels like he's running a good race. He knew he had a bad pit stop, but he's riding well. Rapp's about to see the same thing. It's going to be like, wow. It's going to be pretty clear when they come across, you know, past these guys, their understanding of how special this number 6 is.
You know, and that's a good point. Actually, Rispoli and Rapp are only now separated by under 3 seconds, so that could turn into a contest here. Rapp in 6th, Rispoli in 7th, and Rispoli has been running laps on occasion a half a second or so quicker.
Yeah.
So that battle for 6th here, not necessarily done yet at this point. Pretty well open, and we'll see how that unfolds. Beaubier just continues to roll around here and at some exquisite pace. And as we went to break, you had a shot of the YES Graves crew. Those guys, what a bike they've given him.
Oh, it doesn't get any better, I got to tell you. I mean, that Yamaha is a proven machine. They pretty much dominated, this kid did last year in this class, and after coming back from injury. So it's pretty clear, and it's this is not working in Rispoli's favor because number 6 is so fast. The race is going to end maybe quicker than he can catch the 5.
It's a good point. He is really hooked up. Now, the other thing, too, let's talk a little bit about J.D. Beach. He's, you know, had a quiet top 5 since the first few laps or so, but he's just been right there. He hasn't had that pace that necessarily that they have at the front, but he's putting in a really stout ride.
He and his teammate both, Gagne and J.D. Beach on that team, just really doing a great job. That's a new team last year, so they just built them. They built up to this. You know, they had some good results last year. And to come in here, and if they could finish 4th and 5th in the Daytona 200, hey, that's promising. Now we can go on to the next race to a real racetrack, running the real race tires, and then it'll be a whole little bit different story. The 6th, I think he's still a head and shoulders a little bit better than everybody. I think. I know right now. So it's going to be hard for him to keep this guy in sight. But I mean, you keep building on what they've done here. It's a great job.
Oh, without a doubt. And you mentioned Gagne, Beach's teammate with that team. He still has the fastest lap of the race. So when it came time for just wicking it, Gagne able to get the job done. There you go, Beaubier. As we said, just exercising marvelous patience right now. Just not pushing anything anywhere. Just making the pass. Or did he? Yeah, Rapp letting him go. So as we said, that's up now through 6th spot. Beaubier has lapped the field at this point as we are working. Well, it'll be 3 to go when they come by start finish here. 54 laps in the book for Cameron Beaubier, and I saw one little bobble.
Yeah. He doesn't make too many mistakes right now, but look at the Honda run down the straightaway. That Geico Honda's got some speed in it. That's what we're talking about. You heard Westby talking about he felt like he had something for the number 6.
Yeah, he did.
We won't be able to find that out until about 9 weeks from now, but.
And we made some huge, we watched Westby come from way back and run these guys down a couple of times in that. I mean, so the guy's got immense skill, and you know, the ability that he has here would be you know, fun to have watched, obviously. And he's got the test time on this bike. And in Steve's defense, I mean, he just plopped on it for the first time after the crash.
Well, hang on. He only had a day on that bike, really.
Really?
Honestly, they went to well, they'll take it 2 days, but they were at a track day, and they didn't really get any quality time. So Westby came in here with very little. I mean, seriously limited time on that Honda. So that bike's got some room to grow, and that team as well together.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for him to be, well, then for Dane to be with that limited time, as elated as he was about that.
That's
that
exactly
bike.
why.
Yeah.
That's exactly why. Now Rapp's fighting to stay on that lead lap, and it looks like Beaubier might just lay back and let him.
That's 6th, yeah. He's 6th. All right, here we go. There's Rispoli. That, folks, that gap from Rapp to that bike of Rispoli, that is the closest battle up at the front anyway on the track right now, and that gives you an idea what's going on. Now, one thing, you know, to mention about Rispoli, I understand this is the first time there's a Celtic Racing and Jordan Motorsports are working together on that. That's the National Guard. It's the first time that Jordan has gotten involved in a bike in the sport bike class, I believe.
Well, it's good to see. You know, they got a great program over there with the Superbike team, and might as well add this to the program, you know, and they got the right rider on it, that's for sure. So can Rispoli do anything? I think he's going to run out of time to try to run the 5 down at just 2 laps to go. That's a lot to ask for him to be able to reel in and wrap from that far back.
That'd be nice if he could hook onto the back of Beaubier and get that little bit of a toe and pull him up there, but just not going to happen right now. As we now, 2 to go. Beaubier, Gerloff, Fong. Right now, that's your podium, and again, those splits in between them are still fairly significant. Gagne, Beach, and Rapp in 6, and then Rispoli only. Well, he's taken time out. But now it's coming intense, and he needed to be in those half-second chunks he had a couple of laps ago.
Yeah. Pretty impressive, you know, these Northern California boys that kind of come out of nowhere. There's 3 of them in the top 6. Rapp, Fong, Beaubier, those guys are all come from the Northern California area up there. So they produce some great Elena Myers as well. So it's funny to watch how racing plays out like that. And here you see the 21 of Elena Myers right now, and she's ahead of Melissa Paris. She got by her on that on that drive-through penalty that Melissa had a great run going, and timing and scoring is not telling me what I want to know right now. I don't know how far back Melissa is from Elena, but I don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah, and right now, Garrett Gerloff, he sits in the 2nd spot. He's had a nice race. There you see his fastest lap at 150.6. Very quick indeed, but just has not been able to maintain the pace of teammate Beaubier right now. So he's got a solid 2nd, 15 seconds in front of Bobby Fong in the number 50 machine. So looking fairly stout on that Triple Crown Richie Morris Racing. Number 50 is Fong, sitting in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with this. I mean, I know he's not going to be happy his teammates so fast, but anyway, you know, to be back connected with Brian Stokes, his crew chief down there. Brian, who worked with Tommy Hayden, who filled in last year for him. It's like their first race back together, I think, from last year. So it's good to have those guys back together, and got to go.
Coming up to the white flag, 1 lap to go. Cameron Beaubier, that number 6 YES Graves Yamaha, crossing the stripe here at the famed Tri-Oval. Right now, white flag, 1 to go. And he is going to put together not just a win in the Daytona 200, which is always nice, but a win that will be remembered as dominant.
And I like what he's doing. He's letting Rapp stay on that lead lap. He's not passing him and trying to, you know, demoralize the guy. He's just kind of rolling around behind his Northern California guy, and just going to let him finish up in front of him and bring it on home safely. There's no rush. He's owned this race from about that first pit stop on. It's been his to lose.
Yep, that's the story. He cracked that little bit of a gap right before those pit stops came in. That crew, a smoking fast stop, and that was it. That just sort of broke the back of everybody, and then Beaubier just threw down some wicked quick laps to make sure that stuck, and that's been the story, really, hasn't it?
Put a wheel wrong, really. We saw him make that one mistake going wide in turn 1, but he corrected that immediately and got right back on track. And Here we go. Last time around the West Bank for him.
What's going through your mind right here is, you know, unless something bizarre happens, you've got this thing won on this last lap. What's going through your mind?
I don't know. He's a calm character.
Yeah.
For me, there would have been a lot of yelling and screaming inside the helmet right now. And wondering how big the party was going to be tonight, because it always was. And it's a special thing to win your Daytona race and to win your first one and to take a Rolex watch home with you at the same time. It's a big deal for this kid.
Here he comes out of the chicane, out of the bus stop as they call it here, and he is up on that high line. That number 6 YES Graves Yamaha dropping low down to the double yellow stripe, onto the throttle, straightening it up. He sees the checkers in Raph's toe, coming around. Raph lets him go, and there you have it. Beaubier has won it, and won it in dominant style. It's going to be a few seconds before we know what the margin of victory is. Such was the pace that he put together. Here we go. That is Gerloff, and he is coming around. We'll see where that slots in. You can see there's a lot of room there, and even so, still down to the end, trying to get that last bit of draft, anything he can do. And Gerloff comes by and picks up the second spot. So that YS Graves Yamaha team going 1-2 at Daytona as well. There is Melissa Paris again, got herself in a, this is a scrap for the 10th spot, and she looks like she's got it. There's Bobby Fong. That completes your podium. So Bobby Fong making a switch in program this year, but no switch in performance, and he's got himself a very, very strong podium finish here at the Daytona 200. But the story will be that man, Cameron Beaubier, and what he was able to put together. We're going to step away for just a minute. When we come back, we'll be checking in with our champion and others that we can find. We are back at Daytona International Speedway. The 72nd running of the Daytona 200 is complete. That is Victory Circle. And first into Victory Circle, well, he's with Greg White.
Cameron Beaubier, Daytona 200 champ, congratulations. That was some ride. You got to tell me about that race. You must be hurting too. That's a long time to be in a full tuck, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it really. I pushed really hard at the beginning, try to make a gap, and at first it didn't work, so I backed down a little bit and rode with them, and then I tried really hard again, and then I pulled a second, and then I just kept pushing, and then my team did an awesome pit stop, 2 awesome pit stops, and yeah, I just can't thank Yamaha Extended Service, Monster Energy, Graves Yamaha enough. They gave me an awesome bike all weekend. We had an edge on everyone all weekend, and yeah, I can't thank everyone enough.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sounds like you had an awesome weekend.
Oh,
that's what I'm taking out of that. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our results. And Beaubier just dominant. It's the only way to put it. Superb run. Teammate Garrett Gerloff in second. Bobby Fong completing the podium. Gagne fastest race lap. JD Beach a good run. Steve Rapp filling in a top 6. Nicely done. James Rispoli stepping up. Pretty cool. Nice to see that. Luke Mossy, British Superbike gun coming over. Great to see that. And also keep in mind Elena Myers and Melissa Paris in the top 10. Good for them. John Ashmead, 89 winner, completing it. And let's get right back down to Jason Pridmore with second place.
Down here with a very happy Garrett Gerloff. Probably some sweet redemption after last year to be able to come back here and put in such a solid effort today.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's probably one of the hardest races I've ever done as far as just mentally and trying to do lap after lap. And, man, I really got to give it to the whole Yamaha Extended Service Monster Energy Graves team. I mean, pit stops were basically flawless, and they got me in and out quick so I could get back out there and try to chase down Cameron. But, man, he was on it, and I just had nothing for him. But, yeah, first and foremost, I got to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving me the ability to do this and the opportunities I have. It's just awesome. And once again, my whole team, Yamaha Extended Service, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha, Rev Leather, CD Boots, SHOEI helmets, everyone that supports the team. And, man, this was just awesome. So I don't have a lot of words.
It's pretty happy down here, guys.
All right, Bobby Fong, third place. Congratulations, Bobby. I mean, after doing a couple laps today, you don't look very happy, but third place is great, isn't it?
You know, I just can't get enough, give it up to my team. You know, motorsports.com, RMR Triple Crown, you know, they gave me the best bike out there. But clearly I just got outrode today. You know, I need to go home and do some homework. You know, it was a little lack of bike setup in the infield. But, you know, the bike worked great. And, you know, we'll get them next round, but I'll take third.
All right, congratulations, Bobby.
Well, that's a racer for you. Got a podium at the Daytona 200, not happy. I got work to do, and honest, and that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he does, and that's okay. You know, they got a good team, and they got some good crew members over there. They'll find a great setup. He's a great rider.
Big break now before next round in the championship unfolds. Everybody that's chasing this Graves Yamaha team and Beaubier, what do they got to do?
Well, they got a lot of time to go back to the drawing board, don't they, and try to figure that out. But, you know, it's going to be tough. It's hard to beat that Graves team. They've been around so long. They're so tight with their riders, and their bikes are so good. So good luck to them catching these two guys.
Absolutely. They've got their work cut out for them, but that's why we have a championship. The 72nd running of the legendary Daytona 200 is in the books. Admittedly, maybe not the closest battle we've ever seen, but I don't think there's any doubt we could say that today, in the performance of our winner, Cameron Beaubier, we have seen a very special young man at the top of his game in this category. For Scott Russell, for Greg White, for Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations, Monsieur Beaubier.